Once upon a time, there was an extremely nervous man who showed up on the doorstep of a woman he had never met, or even seen, before. He'd heard good things about her, and decided it was time to get married. He knocked on the door briskly. She opened the door and saw a stranger with trembling hands and a clenched jaw. Summoning up all his courage, he introduced himself and asked her whether she would marry him, right then and there. Amused, she looked him over, paused for the briefest moment imaginable, said no, and closed the door. Dejected, he moved to the next house over, made his trembling way up the stairs, and, with his jaw still clenched, knocked on the next door. Supposedly there was a nice woman who lived there, too. Are you a hasty suitor? At Sandler Trading, which I've had the honor of being part of for 20 years, we've worked with hundreds of thousands of salespeople. Most of them are not happy about taking on the responsibility of prospecting. At first, when many of them shared their feelings about prospecting, their behavior reflected something similar to that hasty suitor on the doorstep. I've even had salespeople tell me that they felt rejected, desperate, and humiliated whenever the dreaded time came for them to pick up the phone and call perfect strangers. This is before they dialed a number. Most default prospecting routines are choked with fear. Is yours? If so, get ready for some good news. This book takes a totally different approach to prospecting for professional salespeople, an approach that's far more effective than the nervous suitor approach, and a lot less scary. A proven system. In terms of identifying actual income opportunities, let's assume that you would prefer to use a system that has been proven to work over one that has not been proven to work. Let's assume that you would prefer to use a system that doesn't require you to abandon your self-respect over one that does. The approach you'll be listening about here has been tested and found to work in virtually every industry that employs salespeople. It comes with a catch, however. You must be willing to change what you've already gotten used to doing, or perhaps avoiding, when it comes to prospecting for new business. In other words, you must be willing to change the patterns you are used to. If you are used to materializing on people's doorsteps or telephones, with trembling hands and a clenched jaw, and then asking them to marry you on the spot, this book will challenge you to try something different and see how it works. Nice to meet you. Leave me alone. Selling is a lot like dating. A bad first date can leave both sides feeling wary and uncomfortable. As a consumer, we've all had salespeople call us up on the assumption that we would agree to meet them on the altar and say, "I do," within the first 5 minutes. If you stop to think about it, you'll realize that usually you don't respond well when someone called you up and said in so many words, "Hi, when are we going to get married?" Stop and think for a moment. What was your response? Did you say, "Great idea, let's go make this happen"? Or perhaps you were more tempted to say something like, "Gee, I'm really busy right now," or "Send me some information," or "Call me back in 6 months." Let me be very clear. You don't have to get down on one knee in order to be a hasty suitor. In the prospecting sense, getting married could mean buying a product or service, or it could mean agreeing to a meeting or some other imminent commitment that moves the salesperson's process forward. Either way, when you heard that marriage proposal from someone who was scared and in a hurry, it's a good bet you weren't always ready to say yes. If this were a real first date, you not only wouldn't marry the person, you wouldn't want to see him or her ever again. You'd probably put the person on a stalker or do not call list. A better way to get the second date. Rest assured that there is a better way to get a second date. But to take advantage of it, we must be ready to challenge some misconceptions about selling. For one thing, we have to abandon the idea that memorizing the right words ahead of time and then saying those words verbatim during the first conversation will get us where we want to go. That is not what determines the quality of our initial discussion.